think the only time I have ever found a movie to be better than the book is the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. And the kids I used to babysit in high school got me into it, and I got hooked pretty quickly. So it's a straightforward story. A skinny, wimpy kid gets bullied, documents his life in a journal. Pretty straightforward. Something about... And the one I actually watched first was the second one, Roderick Rules. I saw that on a plane. And for a second I thought, should I be watching this? Well, it's a fun movie. And my family, who I was flying with at the time, was asleep the whole time. So yes, no judgment. But I thought, I think there's 4 movies. I saw the 3 of them, the first 3. The first one I thought, it was good, it was fun, but something about it felt like they really hadn't hit their stride yet. It felt like, kind of like the first season of a show that has lasted a long time. It's like, okay, it's so clear they haven't found the rhythm yet, but there's something here. The actors don't really know each other yet. They don't really know how this is gonna go. You don't really have the relationships established. But it's still good. It's not bad by any means. It's not dull. But it's just how much better the second one is because of how much more they've gotten to know each other, how much tighter the story was, how they found their rhythm in the second one. That's Roderick Rules. It's about, essentially, the main character, Greg, and his relationship with his brother. And they have a lot of the cliches that you've seen in other kids' movies, or at least that I've seen at this point. Namely, they throw a party when the parents are out of town and have to hide the evidence. The way they do it here is funny, and it feels like I would have wanted to be at that party. It felt like it was a genuinely fun time. And part of it is I've seen the R-rated versions of scenes like that and that trope. So the fact that it was a G-rated version was inadvertently hilarious. Even though it still felt like, yeah, I really wanted to be there. I would have enjoyed that experience. It felt like a very fun party. And versus other movies that tend to do that, just feels like, okay, you're going through the motions. There's another scene, another cliche, where they prank call a crazy gym teacher at their school who later chases them down through a mall. Something about that actor, the comic timing, the way it's directed and edited and written, it was so funny. It felt like the stakes were higher. Because the moments are a lot smaller in the book. And in the book, I felt like the characters were a lot less likable. I mean, I find the books to be a little more... I find them darker than the movies and smaller moments, and I feel like Greg's a jerk. And I don't sympathize with him too much because he has a lot of character flaws. He's pretty selfish. But in the books, I find it's a bit more... Something about it is less likable to me. Other people interpret it this way too, other people don't. But I do feel like the movies make him a lot more sympathetic, a lot more likable. I mean, he does have his jerky moments in the movie, but I do feel like the edges are softened a bit. And they give Roderick a little bit of that too in the second one. It keeps the focus where it should be. It's... By the second movie, the actors feel like they've known each other, and the writing felt tighter. But it was also a very balanced film. The relationships... What was the focus of the film was the relationship with the two brothers, and that is clear. That is what it's around. And then everything else, so their ups, their downs, all supports that. One thing I do wish... Because Greg has a love interest, I do wish she could have been a bit more interesting. And they give Roderick a love interest too in the third one, and she's just your generic mean girl character. It's Greg's love interest's sister. So, yeah, 2 brothers fall for 2 sisters. I still felt like they could have given those 2 girls more to work with. Granted, there's not much in the book to work with at all, so the role was greatly expanded. Something about... This is one cliche I still see a lot, at least I see this more in younger audience movies, teen movies, the love interest is really, really boring. And for me, I like it when you can at least get a little bit of why they like this person. It's, at least on Greg's end, it's implied to be pretty shallow. She's pretty, she's popular, she's good at soccer. It's pretty shallow. I get it. Middle school, that's a thing. I don't know. I felt like they could have given Roderick a bit more of a reason, something a little more interesting, something you could know a bit more about them. Granted, it is a nitpick. They're not the focus. They're not in it for even that long. So that's... It doesn't take me out of it. It's just something like, oh, that's something I think could have been better. The third one, I think, overdoes it a bit, because the third one is supposed to be the relationship with Greg and his dad, and I get it, they were starting to age out a bit, and Roderick became a more popular character, so they wanted to give him more, but I felt like it took away from the balance of the film. Well, give the people what they want. The kids were starting to age out, and I don't even remember the third one all that much. But I actually saw that one in theaters with other high schoolers who got into the book because of kids they babysat. So there was a fan base for these films and these books that was outside its intended audience. Still had a lot of fun, and I have not seen the fourth one. I heard it's terrible. It bombed hard, which is, I get it. When the original actors age out, it's a little hard to... But you can even see in the third one. It's a little hard to replace that. And apparently they replaced a lot of the actors, which is interesting choice. Maybe it's because if you replace one actor, that it's like, oh, that's kind of weird. Affects the continuity. I mean, the Diary of a Wimpy Kid cinematic universe. It's important. Still, though. And one more thing, I will admit I was one of those girls who had a crush on Roderick in high school. Sue me.